welcome back to the Drama Coach podcast. Today I'm joined by Julia from JKs Management, who represents children and adult actors with a focus on Welsh talent. We actually connected via social media, which I think is always a great starting point for these kind of conversations. And in this episode, we are hoping to have an open, honest chat about what agents are really looking for, how things differ for young performers, and what parents need to know when they're navigating this world. We talk about everything from self-tapes and common mistakes to when it might be the right time to approach an agent and when it might not be. As always, this is about building confidence, understanding, and realistic expectations so that you can support your child or yourself in a way that feels grounded and sustainable. So let's get into it. Welcome, Julia. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your agency.
So I'm Julia. I run JKs Management, which is a South Wales-based agency, and we represent only Welsh talent, normally only Wales-based talent. I've been running for 13 years, and I started it as part of my drama school that I started when I finished uni, and then was like, oh, I'll represent a few of the children, and then it grew and grew, and then I was representing adults, and now I do both.
Do you enjoy them equally, the adults and the children?
Yes, I love, with the adults, I love the banter. I have a group chat and I put on, right, I've had this call for this little job, anybody available for it, if it's like a small Cardiff one and it's local, and they all respond with aubergines instead of so
Blimey.
Banter is so good with the adults, and then the parents join in as well, because obviously there's only adults on their groups, is their parents. So, and then with the kids, I love watching their self-tapes, because you never know what you're going to get, especially if they're tiny, if they're 4 to 8. Oh my goodness, they are hilarious. And they'll say, the casting director will put in the tape, say something about yourself, and they'll say the most funny things and they'll be really memorable.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. You get entertained through your job. That's really nice.
Absolutely.
So how does it differ then? You've mentioned obviously keeping them separate on the WhatsApp groups, but what would you say the main differences are, because there are some agents that just represent adults and some that just represent children, and some like yourself that represent both. What are the main differences between representing adults and representing young people?
Adults are definitely easier because you can just WhatsApp them and go, there we go, this is the date, and then are you available? And then with the children, it's more, right, is the school going to allow the time off? Are we going to get a license in time? Because our local council are brilliant, the one that most of them are with. They are 5 to 7 days, which is unheard of.
That's brilliant. I thought we were quite quick here, because I think I've got young performers that I help as well as my own children. And yes, I thought we were pretty quick in our area, but that's even better.
They are, but the rule is 21 days across all of the councils. So you're like, obviously there's more with the recalls and things with the children. They do tend to recall, whereas with the adults, sometimes they'll do a Zoom recall. But with the younger ones, the recall is normally in person, because they want to meet the child and see how the child reacts to being around adults or being around new people, which is fair.
It's different, isn't it?
Yeah. Adult, shut down.
Yeah, that's going to be really difficult for a director, isn't it? If that's something. So that makes a lot of sense. I hadn't thought about that before. I've really enjoyed, for myself and my children recently, the ability to self-tape. You can do so many more auditions for free, which is wonderful, but I know it comes with its drawbacks as well, like whether that's the over polishing or that maybe taking too much time because you can, etc. But for us, I love it because it means we can do more for less, and that is really suiting us. But I know there are some people that haven't enjoyed that move.
Well, they're seeing a lot more now. Like the northern kids before, weren't getting as much. The Welsh kids were not getting as much. The Scottish and the Irish were getting, really, really low amounts of calls, unless it was like local stuff. And then because of self-tapes now, they'll see a kid from Scotland or from, or an actor, an adult actor even from Scotland or Wales or the North, and, and get them down to London. The recall fee is hilarious at £50. Or when there's a recall, there's a recall fee is £50. It's like, great, that's getting me to Cardiff.
Yeah. And I guess if they've got that support and their parents want it for them, then it's worth it. But that does bring, it does bring a different element.
You've got to have like a bank of money if you want to be an actor. You've got to have like an audition bank, I suppose. So Monzo would be a good account because you can do a pot. My acting pot, which is your recall money, because £50 doesn't go anywhere.
No. So it's all very well getting the auditions, but like you say, especially for the young people, if their recalls are more often than not in person, that is something for parents to consider, isn't it? The cost of this. So it seems like not very much on the surface. And I was diving into an episode recently about, headshots and show reels and whether to be paying out for those, which we might touch on a bit more in a moment. But yes, I think you're right. I think parents need to know about that pot of money that you will need. It's not going to be all free, unfortunately, but there we go. When your child begs you, you've got to find it, haven't you? Or you feel you have. So in these self-tapes, and whether it's a self-tape audition for a role, or whether it's people sending you self-tape submissions because they want to be on your agency, what things stand out for you? What makes somebody stand out?
Eyes, always eyes. If I can read them with their eyes, I want the light to be on their eyes. And if I feel, is it real? That's what I look for mostly. Do I feel like this is real? And children struggle a lot with that and making it, I notice in their tapes. For me, when I'm watching, I think, I don't feel like this is real. I feel like this child has learned this and now they're saying the words and that's all I'm getting. So I always say to the children when I'm teaching them as well, make it real. Let me feel that that's real. Like, you've really got to think that that's real life, and convey it like it's real life. But the eyes always stand out. I got ADHD brain big time, and I look at everything. So if this was me in a self-tape now, I'd be looking, where does that lead to? What's this what candle is that? That looks like a nice candle, in the background. So make sure it's plain, because you got people like me, and if you're in front of a wallpaper, always make sure that it's plain, because otherwise in my head I'm criticizing your wallpaper. I'm horrible.
I'm glad that's you as well. No, I'm very similar. I always say to all of my students, have your plain background. And I think they're just looking at me like, what does the background matter? I'm like, because it draws attention to you, and like you say, the eyes. And I think something we heard growing up, like if somebody didn't like an actor on TV, they'd say, oh, there's nothing behind the eyes. So I'm guessing if the parent's watching their child, and it's hard when it is your dear child that you think are perfect and funny and sweet and whatever, but if you feel like there's nothing going on there behind the eyes, then I guess push them to make it real.
Yeah, they're just saying the words. And you can tell a lot of the time if mum or dad has directed them and said, right, at that point do that now, and then do that, and then you can feel like they are really they're like over directed,
kind of robotic.
And then the funniest ones, really robotic, and then the funniest ones are where the parent is given so much enthusiasm to try and get the child to be enthusiastic, and they're like, so where is that, behind the camera, because they've got it on the stand and the parent is standing here because they won the eyeline year. It's booming through the mic.
I like to mic my children if I can, if I'm the reader and not myself, because my voice carries, and not always in a good way. So I try to rein it in, because again, you might get excited about the character, the situation. So I try to make myself not mic'd as a reader, so that it's not, hopefully not as loud. But that's a tricky one.
parents, strip back your reading, so you're just saying the words with a little bit of enthusiasm, because yeah, some of them are hilarious. They full panto, behind, yeah.
Is there other ways that people can stand out to you? So if they've got these fantastic eyes going on in a self-tape, if they reach out to you, or have you got, not telling you to list your favorite parents, but things that parents do that are helpful to you, that make you want to help them and their child along?
So if they know how the industry works, so if they know that signing with an agent does not mean that you're going to book any jobs, then they understand how the industry works, and that's so helpful, because there's a lot of, in my opinion, there's a lot of like pushy parents, and
I've seen them.
They want it more than their child does, and then
Yeah.
you'll be on a Zoom with their child or on the phone with their child to be like, right, okay, so what are you into, to try and get, and the child could look perfect, but their heart's not in it. It's the parents like living through the child. But if the parent knows how the industry works, having an agent doesn't mean fame, even mean tapes, or we can only submit for what comes in, and we can only submit the right children for each role. And you think, oh, I got submitted for that, and so did, because the parents do talk.
The competition.
On their Facebook pages, and they say, oh, well, my 8-year-old has had 3 self-tapes from this. And then they're like, well, why hasn't mine? And then they're asking the agent, why hasn't my 8-year-old had these 3 self-tapes that this person has had? It's like, because they're totally different children. They wanted a blonde-haired child for that. And because some agents, I show the submissions list, so everybody knows what, mine's live on their Tagmin account. Everybody knows what they've been submitted for. If they didn't get called, that's not my fault.
I think that transparency is great if you can do it, because it's good for you. This isn't school where everybody gets a fair chance at everything, hopefully. Yeah. We both teach. It's different. It has got that massive variety of things that somebody could be looking for. And you as an agent, you see it, you feel it, your clients well. And the parent only really knows their own child, and like you said, looks at the numbers. So I think I talk a lot about rejection and reframing rejection, and I think we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think it's good for the parents to know that being competitive in terms of number of submissions or tapes or recalls, no, I think that's really unhelpful, and it's going to make them feel quite negative, and that's going to rub off on the child. Right. So I think that's really good. And I think that leads us quite nicely into thinking about common mistakes that you see across adults and children. So one, I guess, is that competitiveness. What else? What things do you see come up time and time again that people could perhaps not make?
That's such a hard question. In what respect?
So things like it could be for me, for example, I will see students overacting or pushing and trying to play the emotion rather than the objective. Or it could be nerves. I see nerves as swaying a lot.
Yeah.
Or it could be other self-tape habits that you see.
Yeah, self-tape. So people who are away on holidays, but they have to do self-tape by tomorrow, and then they start their tape by going, I'm really sorry that I'm not in my, it's like, don't apologize, just get it done and go, this is it. It's tough poo that where you are, just get it done, because you've instantly given yourself, what's it, like, you've knocked yourself by saying,
you've put yourself lower. Yeah,
for me. And then obviously boys, I find boys are worse for this, but the swaying on the feet, they're not going to, I say to them in my drama school, they're not going to book you for a TV job if you rock, because they're not going to be like this with the camera to keep you in frame. You need to ground yourself, ground your feet.
I say this all the time, Julia. I'm so glad you're saying this with me as well. I was literally talking about this week with Tim.
the kids that I teach, I'm like, I'll come and stand on your toes if I got to stop you from swaying.
Yeah, you definitely can't do that in a school environment, can you?
No. I think I really think it's a boy thing, the swaying, I've noticed more than the girls. Yeah. The girls are more pickers.
Ah, and I say, why are you touching your
Yeah.
costume? They'll pull at sleeves
Yeah,
and things.
yeah, over their
Yeah.
thumbs and that, until they've got a
Mm.
hole.
Yep, yep. My daughters have got holes in theirs.
Yeah. And then yeah, the apologizing, definitely, the
Mm.
swaying, and then probably not lighting it right. So what we're aiming for in the self-tape is, when you walk into an audition room and they've got the camera set up and they've got the plain background there, you're aiming to save them a job taking you to London to film there. You're
Mm.
just saving them a job by replicating that at home. That's what you're aiming for.
Perfect.
They've got good job. That's it.
So ideally, I guess natural light's great for everyone if they've got a couple of windows, and then I would say softbox lights if those parents are investing from that pot of money,
Yeah,
and angle them and have a play around. I've got better at my lighting, definitely, but it did take
yeah,
me a bit of playing around. I'd get a strange shadow down one side, etc.
yeah.
But you can do that at home. That's the beauty of it.
You
You can
have
have a play.
the glasses rings, the lights in the glasses. Are they?
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, our agent gave us a little tip actually. So, when we used to have a ring light as well, because sometimes that can help make your eyes pop. But if I was doing one
Yeah,
with my glasses, she would say just drop a pillowcase over the ring lights, and that sort of softened it. That was quite a nice like DIY tip before we got the softbox
yeah.
lights. That was quite nice.
I'm gonna
Otherwise, I'm
try
always
these.
doing a, oh yeah, use that. It's like, it looks like a little ghost then. It's quite
Yeah,
friendly and quite funny. But yeah, otherwise I'll start trying to angle my, and there are plenty of children that wear glasses, and perhaps that's part of the character as well. And we don't want to be doing funny things, do we, to try and not get the
yeah. My
reflection in the
daughter
glasses.
used to have glasses, and I'd be like driven insane with the ring light. So yeah, I love that pillowcase
I'll
trick. I
try
didn't
try to
know. I will
try
now.
that. I don't know if it'll be perfect for glasses, but it definitely softened what we had. It
Yeah.
definitely worked well for us. Right, so that's some great common mistakes. Do you see that across the adults? Do you ever get adults swaying or picking, or are they more
Some of the adults like to
honed in?
frame here to here, so they've cut the top
So
of
like
their head and
under their chin.
they like walk into frame, so they
Gosh.
really close. So yeah, and you're like, whoop, take a step back. But some of our adults have never done a tape in their life. Some of them come into acting at 50 years old, and I've never done a tape. So one of our guys set up a readers group, and he set up a brilliant self-tape kind of studio in his conservatory, and he's like, come to me, we'll
Oh,
do
they
it,
can come
and
round because they're all based in Wales. That's
yeah,
awesome.
brilliant. And the tapes are perfect, the lighting he's got in his conservatory is amazing. But they help each other out like that. But some of them have never taped, and then you say, oh, can you do this tape? And then they're like sitting on the sofa doing it, and I'm like, ooh, okay, this is different. And then
Yeah.
realize they wouldn't have a clue. So I wrote the self-tape Bible for our guys.
Oh, that sounds
So
good.
when they do the contract, I send out the self-tape Bible, and it's everything, but I've made it quite comedy of, don't make me look at your horrendous wallpaper, and things like that will make them remember, right, she doesn't want to see this, she doesn't want to see that, and I say, if you can, stand up, because it always gives more presence, you feel, unless it's, my son has done a couple of monologues, and he was like, I need to sit for this, he said, because I feel like I need my knee to lean on just to feel him. I'm like, yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
And then
He's
if he's
taking his
playing,
artistic license there and saying that
yeah,
feels right for him. That's really nice.
yeah. And then if he's doing like a bully role, he'll always stand up. So yeah, he's such a nice kid, and he gets all the bully roles. So he's just done a BBC series, and he's the bully in it. And I'm like, it's so funny because he's such chill guy, and then when he's acting, he can be horrid.
But then that's casting, right? If he can pass
Yeah,
for it, and that's
yeah,
acting. And I think so many adults get stereotyped, sometimes just to a type that they are. My daughter also, she actually loves the villains, and she is the nicest, kindest friend you'll ever meet.
yeah,
But she enjoys the villains, and I think, why not? If they can, then I think, and
yeah,
also they'll be lovely to everyone on set. So if they are being horrible to a younger
yeah,
child on camera, at least they'll be lovely friends off camera, which
yeah.
again, I think those relationships are really special, aren't they? So I think that's
Yeah,
pretty
he's
cool.
he's made friends with this lovely boy, and the boy who was playing the boy that was being bullied by him. They were such good friends, in the green room and everything, proper vibing. And then Rory was like, "Sorry, Max," just before he, he went on, before just apologising that he was about to be horrid to him.
I think that's the time you're allowed to apologise. When we're saying, don't apologise in your self tapes, etc. When you've got the role and it is a pretty harsh role, I think off camera that's just nice relationship building, isn't it?
Yeah,
Awesome. So let's stick with talking about these young people and think about, because I get asked quite a bit, sort of at what age should I get an agent, and how long is a piece of string and all that.
yeah.
Um, is it an advantage or is it a pressure to start young, and is there too early in your opinion? This sort of thing, training, experience, getting the right time for the right person. Tell us a little bit about that in your experience.
I think commercials, any age, straight out of the womb, they can do commercials
Yeah,
because there's
brilliant.
not like there's not a big ask with commercials with children. Then by the time they're 7 or 8, they should be able to do, like an A4 sheet of script. They should be able to learn that and do it and make it feel real. If they can't, then I would wait. Um, a lot of them struggle to learn text, but then there's a difference between them. Yes, they can learn the text, but can they make it real? Um, they can read it off. They're not reciting for their school play. They're actually acting. It needs to feel as real as you can make it. So they should be prepared. Be prepared. Young commercials, any age, because there's barely any text and they can do one line at a time. And then by the time they're 7 or 8, they should be able to do a full A4. That's what they're expecting. My daughter was 6 and she had like 3 or 4 scenes in, and they were good hefty chunks. And yeah, they've got to be able to do it. And then when they did it, it was her first. She'd only ever done commercials, and then they did the series. It was Death Valley, and she and she was like, "Ma'am, I was doing one line, and then they kept moving the camera." And she said, "But I knew the whole thing." And I was like, "Well, when
Oh,
you're 6, she doesn't understand." And then she was like, "It took ages to do one scene." But I was like, "Yeah,
she's a
because
little diva. I love it.
it's like a one-hit wonder on a commercial, because you go in, yeah, done, and then different act, done. And then they've got to be able to stand there and take that, that they're moving in now and they're doing this now, and they've got to be patient and understanding, of this is how it works. They are working. They should be having fun, but they are still working, and that's what they're getting paid for.
I think that's really important for the parents to know, because you think about the glamour and the fun and you're on TV and how exciting and you're meeting these people, great. But there is a huge amount of hanging around. And I know people on set try to make it fun for kids, or the kids will love going over to the snacks table, etc.
Oh yeah.
But there is a lot of hanging around. And if your
Mhm.
child isn't ready for that, then perhaps they're not ready for the
Yeah,
industry. Perhaps stick to the commercials
yeah.
until if they I think, again, you were saying earlier about whether the parents want it or the child. If the child really wants it, you can encourage them and say, well, we need to practice standing still, or how we deal with this boredom. I think
Yeah.
if the child really wants it, they make it work, don't they? But if they
They really want
don't,
it. Like, to know, for me, if they really want it, it's like, would you do this for £1? Would you do this job for £1? Do they really want it? Do the parents, are they happy for them to go and work for £1? Obviously it's not. They're never going to do that. But you know what I mean? They do it because they love it. Whereas are they being kind of told to do it because the money is so good?
Yeah. But you say that, I know a lot of students that start off being in student films and doing free jobs. There is contention there because some people say you shouldn't be, that they should be paid and it's taking work away, etc. But it is a great way to get early experience. So if the parents can run them around, ideally locally is better. But we've been known to travel here and there for the odd film that works for the child, and you think, it's going to get us some great self-tape materials, some lovely connections. These students will be in the industry in the future, so it is nice if they are young, I think, that you as the parent can begin to make those connections for them. So again, my children have done free stuff and they've loved it. So if they love it, I think you try, don't you? Try to make it work.
Yeah, if they love it. And you never know where the next the next big director is going to come from. They all went to to uni to do it, and they're producing these self-tape these short films and things. Everybody's got to start somewhere, but you never know. You've made that connection now. Perhaps later they'll go on to become, I don't know, a commercial director, or even better, a feature film director. They'll go, remember that kid we used when,
Perfect.
And there we go.
There you go. You've got the job like that. So, as you said, you've got your drama school as well. How does training versus experience, what do they need more? Is it a balance? What sort of things do you advise them to do for training?
I'm very much a believer on they've either got it or they haven't, which is awful to say. I'm like, go to uni.
This is your honest opinion.
I'm a firm believer in they've either got it or they haven't. That thing, you can't put your finger on what it is, but you just know that they're gonna do well. One of our girls started with us when she was 6, and now her full-time job, she's 18 now, her full-time job is acting. She does series and she does films and everything, and she was supposed to go to college at 16, and I said, don't go to college and everything, but I'm really friendly with her mother, and I was like, don't go to college. And she was like, well, she's gonna have to go to college. And I was like, don't go to college, like, give me a year. And then the week she was supposed to go and enroll, she booked a feature film, and I said, it's shooting for 6 months, you're not going to college. And I was like,
so exciting. You were right.
And then she was like, what do we do now? And I was like, they'll come now, more stuff is going to come, and it has, and that's her full-time job. She's my most successful, but I knew at 6, and my mum knew at 6, because my mum used to run an agency back in the day, in the olden days.
Well, that's great. That's got some ready-made contacts for you, surely, when you started. That's really exciting.
And my mum said, she's got it. Yeah, she's got it. And I was like, yeah, she's got it. And and if you look at her now, you're like, yeah, she's I don't know what it is, but it is something. There's just a kind of a spark where you kind of just know.
You can see it, you can feel it. Yep.
Yeah. She did every free job and every student job, and from the age of 6, and mum became a licensed chaperone in order to take her, and learned all of the ropes, and
perfect. What a team.
You just kind of know. You just kind of knew it was like, she's gonna do well. But I would never advise anybody not to go to full-time education either. It was just that I knew that if she'd gone to college, it would take her out for a year, and we wouldn't be able to push her. And then that film came just at the right time, and it was like, yay. So I owe something came to you then.
It came to me. That made me think of quite a specific question, and I know we haven't talked about this. We'll see what you think about this. Quite a specific question. I've just seen the whole drama school auditions happening a lot recently, and all the rejection and the heartbreak from these teens and early 20s. And one or two of them have thought about taking a gap year. Great, loads of experience they can get there, and getting an agent. And at first I was like, oh yeah, fantastic, great, good plan. And I thought, hang on a minute, how is an agent going to feel if this child or young person is thinking in a year's time they're off to drama school, because then surely they're out for jobs. So this is a very specific one, but what's your take on that?
So we've had a couple like that where they've finished school, they've had a year off and they've done some acting and stuff, and then they've gone off to uni, and then uni's gone, you're not allowed any time off. And then we're like, oh, okay, but we've started them. So to think like we've pushed them a bit, and then all of a sudden it's, right, stop now. And then they go to uni or college, they decide to stay where they trained, and then I can't represent them anymore. You know, some of them have gone to East 15 or you know, and they've stayed that way, and or in London, and they've stayed down there, and I'm like, oh, okay, then then I
naturally have to part ways. So
and a big agent comes along, and they, you know, and a bigger agent, and and they go for the bigger agent, and then they're like, oh, it's not like with you where I can WhatsApp you and say, and I'm like, because I'm just me, that's how I am. But it's hard because you're pushing them, and then all of a sudden you've just got to stop. And then sometimes they go to uni and they end up getting a job straight after uni where they are, and then they can't get any time off from the job. But they're so used to the money coming in that they think, I'll do this later. I'll put my career on hold to do this job, and then I'll have money then to have headshots and spotlight and, you know, and all of that. And then you get kind of sucked into it before you know 5 years have gone. Yeah.
Well, that's so tricky, and I don't know what the flip side is. I don't know what the advice is. It's following the path and following your heart, isn't it? Like the girl you spoke about, and it's timing as well. And I think something I say a lot is that path is different for everyone, and you've just got to try your best and go with your gut, haven't you? I think
some of them will do really well. I've never gone to drama school and don't start until they're 40 or 50. And they're like, I'd like an agent, and they've never done a self-tape and whatever, and you're going, ooh, I could see you in something. I don't know what, but you've got it that I would like to see more of. And then, and then it just comes.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. You have a brilliant job. Yeah, true. Okay, this kind of links in, and I think you've probably answered this just from your general enthusiasm about the actors that you represent. So taking the regional angle here, because we get a lot of complaints. Oh, all the jobs are in London. It's just London. You have to live within X amount of minutes or miles from the M4.
The M25.
Are there? Yeah, oh, that's it. Not the M4. M4's us. What am I talking about? Sorry. We might have to edit that. You have to live within a certain amount of miles within the M25. That's the one I'm thinking of. Are there plenty of opportunities? I think I know the answer already from speaking to you. Outside of London, and has self-taping affected that?
There's loads of opportunities. Like for Wales, we've got like massive series that have started elsewhere that are now coming to Wales. We've got Dragon Studios, and we've got Bay Studios, and we've got all of those. So we're blessed, and obviously Wales, we're poor. So so stuff is cheaper over here, so they'll come to us to film.
Brilliant.
I think House of Dragon is coming to Wales this year to film because and then that's more money for them. So we get like brilliant opportunities in Wales. We've got obviously we've got It's My Shout, which is this Welsh how would I describe it? So it's the BBC run like an intern program, so everybody who's working on those films is a trainee, and there's qualified camera ops and things, and they're training everybody. So they're making all these films and they're being trained at the same time. But then what you've done by working on one of those is you've networked in the Welsh industry. There's awards now. We go on the 12th of April, big networking events there, you know, and all of that. Like there's so many opportunities for Wales. I'm sure that up north they do that in, you know, Hereford. There's got to be
I think there's quite a hub Manchester way as well now, and I've seen a lot popping up for Ireland. So yes, hopefully each region has has more opportunities and everything's building, because we do hear the kind of gripe of, oh, you have to live in or near London if you want to be an actor, but perhaps
I understand with theatre work, I understand why you've got to live within an hour for the children, especially the time off school and the travelling and the rehearsal schedule and everything. I understand that for the children, but it never used to be that. For Matilda, they would have Matilda and Bruce from anywhere, and they would have tutors and everything. And now all of a sudden, you've got to be an hour now from whichever theatre it's in.
So that's in recent. You've seen that changed quite recently, then. Very interesting.
Yeah. And then the ensemble, they've always had to be within an hour, So we've had good opportunities because we've got Wales Millennium Centre. We've done Les Mis down there. What's the other one? School of Rock. We've done there. Quite a few of our kids have been in the tours. But then they're gone and that's it. It's done then. We got Michael Sheen doing bits down here now, though, at the minute. So... we like him. But he's given loads of opportunities for Wales as well. But yeah, the whole M25 bias thing, it is there, it's very much there, especially your commercials. But then we've just had a guy who lives in Merthyr, which is like one of the apparent roughest places in the UK to live, who's been to Cape Town for 3 weeks at Christmas to shoot over there. So the opportunities are endless.
Yes.
And that was all from a self-tape. There was no recall. It was just a self-tape. And they just knew, there we go, that's you. And we were as shocked as you were then. Like, whoa, what?
That's so exciting. Right place, right time. When the puzzle fits. That's really, really exciting.
I obviously saw the famous "it" in quotation marks.
That sparkle, it was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then I was going to quiz you about approaching agents, but I feel like we've pretty much covered that. But if you're going to get an email perhaps that drops to you, or maybe you'd like people to approach you in different ways, what is the etiquette? People are always talking about how to approach an agent. We've thought about what their self-tape should be like. What's your preferred method, or what are your kind of real things that you don't like?
Yeah, so always check their books are open, first of all, because we get them all year and we only open our books in January for 3 weeks. That's it. I take the whole of January off just to deal with the
submissions. Wow.
Yeah, so I feed back to everybody that applied.
That's so lovely. I've never heard of that before.
Everybody that applies gets feedback on the reason why they didn't, some of them I'll say, come back in May when you finished your course, because and I go into unis and I teach them how to apply to agents as well. So humanize yourself. One thing is, I see, this is me and I am a machine, basically. You've listed everything you can do and and how wonderful you are, but you don't feel very human. So humanize yourself, definitely. A little bit about you, a link to Spotlight if you've got it, or a link to a CV, a link. So Google links are good, so you just click them and they come, rather than us having to download everything. Because
I was saying this the other day. I'm so glad to have it backed up. I was like, oh, you don't want to clog up your agent's inbox, but again, I'm not an agent. I don't know, so it's actually really nice for me to hear my points validated. So thanks, Julia.
Yeah, no, clicky links are the best. And when you send your monologue or whatever, pick something that's not as well known, because one year it was Harry Potter year and I had about 15 Hermione Granger.
You're going to be so bored.
But I was just playing it in my head. I was Hermione's voice and I was just watching their faces. I wasn't even kind of listening. I was like, can they do something else? Something original is great, because, and I find a cheat sheet is pick a monologue that's very similar to you in real life. So then you're not acting so much, you're actually talking about yourself. And it feels really real. Yeah, and if you can get your lighting right then, make your eyes pop, then you're in.
And a bit more unique. Like you said, you don't want to be hearing another famous actor's voice in your head when you're watching this submission.
Yeah, definitely. But always clickable links, make yourself human, and make sure you get the agent's name right, because that's like a pet peeve is, yeah, yeah. And make sure so I only do Wales based, so don't apply to me if you're London based,
Yeah.
because I'm not the right agent for you. And in
So
my
the
feedback,
research,
yeah,
the
do your
parents do
research.
need to do the research, or the young actor. Yeah. Sorry, I
Yes,
interrupted
yeah.
you.
No, it's fine. I do it all the time. I'm terrible.
I get very excited. I get excited.
Yeah.
I love
Um,
chatting.
yes. What are you saying? Yes.
So I think that's lovely advice, and I'm really glad. Fills my heart that I am giving useful advice that does tie in. That really helps, because that ultimately is what I want to do. So I think you've talked about what stands out in its submission, and I think I remember that's eyes in particular. So what not to do? Yeah, don't do something that's really overdone. And how would you suggest these lovelies that you very kindly give feedback to? That's really rare to get any feedback. When you're applying to agent after agent after agent, or job, and you get no feedback and or just rejections, what little nugget of advice can you give them to deal with that?
Keep going, because for every this is how I say what I say to the children I teach. For every 10 auditions, 9 of them you're guaranteed a no. That's how, and so you do the thing, do the audition, do the self tape, do the recall, forget you ever did it. And if anything comes of it, then that's
Bonus.
brilliant. But if it
Yeah.
doesn't, you've been seen. Yeah.
That's great. Oh, I love this. I feel like we are on the same page here. I see parents with especially auditions for particular places, like a scholarship or something like that, and they're worrying and they're waiting for that email and they're tense. I'm like, just let it go. It's done.
Yeah.
If you know you're getting a response, it will come. You're wasting your own energy. Your child's going to feed off of that. And if this is the industry that you're going into, you can't live like that.
Yeah.
And you can't teach your child to live like that, because their nerves are going to be on edge. So I do
Yeah.
try to encourage the parents that I know and I help, just to let it go
Forget
and
about it.
forget about
Yeah.
it.
It's done. It's done. There we go. You did your thing, and that's it. And that's your job. And remember, as soon as you've had your first audition or your first recall, you are a professional actor from that point, because
That's beautiful.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I was listening to something today at another podcast, and it was saying your job is to audition.
Yeah.
That's your job. I was like, yeah, do you know what? Okay, we are actors. We are doing it. And I think that just that little flip of mindset can be really, really helpful and empowering. So thank you for that. Okie dokie.
No, that's it.
Yes. And I think the kids will love to hear that as well. I think that gives them a boost, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so supporting young performers. Okay, how can parents best navigate their relationship with their agent? Oh, I hope this makes sense. What I can see, we talked about maybe pushy parents, etc. What's the best way for them to navigate this sort of three-way relationship between their child and their child's agent?
Keep me updated on things that are necessary. Keep their headshots up to date. So with the children, they change so fast. Like an adult actor's headshots, you only really need to change them like every year, every 2 years, maybe, depending if you've had like a drastic haircut, or when you go for your headshot, if you sometimes do shave, then men obviously shave, and then have a headshot like that, because then you've got so much more time. But with the kids, they change so quickly, from 6 months, and you're looking at a picture going, whoa, they don't even look like that anymore. Keep that up to date. Keep their height and weight up to date on Spotlight and Tagmin. And then if there's like a particular skill, like, oh, last weekend they completed their swimming thing and now they're doing diving, brilliant. I needed to know that, because when you update that on Spotlight, I don't get a notification. So
Do you not? Yeah, it's okay.
no,
This is good.
oh, they can dive now, or oh, they're doing my daughter's doing surf lessons, like, oh, she can surf now, you know, and yeah, she started surfing, and she's okay. She's pretty decent, but yeah, she's okay. But that, so I can put that as a skill now, because she can stand up and she can turn the board. I'm so good at surfing. I should stick to drama. Um, yeah, things like that, you know. And then if there's a skill that they learned when they were 3, like, I don't know, they went horse riding for like 3 years and they were semi-good, and then they stopped doing that and they haven't done that for 2 years, don't take it off,
Take it off.
because
Yeah.
they can't do it on camera, first take, in one go, then take it
No.
off.
That's great. So it's that 2 touch point: update your spotlight, but update your agent as well. Your agent wants to know you well and wants to know these relevant things. You don't want to be kind of bothered with, I don't know what an
Well, you can
irrelevant
email
example
and
would be.
say, any idea why they haven't had a self-tape for 4 months, you know, or, you know, you've been submitting them, any idea why they haven't? And I'll go, I don't really know. Maybe let's change their headshot and see if that works for a bit. Or, you know,
tweak.
let's do a little reel, do a little introduction self-tape, and then stick it on Spotlight. Because they're 4 to 7, they're not expecting them to recite, you know, Shakespeare. A little intro of you doing some questions with them. What's your name? Where do you live? What's your favourite subject in school? Have you got a joke for me? Because that's what a lot of these little self-tapes are about.
As long as they don't include their full address, though. Because sometimes you get
Yeah,
really little
yeah.
ones that want to reel off their address. No, don't do that. Just your general area.
No.
Let's keep it safe.
Yeah. Where do you live? Wales.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, just little things like that. Just to, so the casting director can see your child now as they are now, and redo that video every 4 to 6 months, and then see, and it will help.
You've
But
prompted
ask your
me.
agent,
I
do you
need to
know
do that
why
with
they
mine.
haven't? Yeah. I was looking, my son's are done because he was off school, so we did it on his inset day. But my daughters are not done, so I need to do my daughter's ones. But yeah, my son is more eager for the film roles, and my daughter just wants to do commercials because the money's really good, you know. So
And there's not
yeah.
so much line learning, quick and
Yeah,
easy and
yeah.
fun. Yeah.
And they don't move the camera, and she churned out a commercial in 45 minutes and said, "Okay, let's go to Primark." And I was like, oh, great, thank you for that. Yeah,
I need to meet her. She sounds like a wonderful little diva. I love it.
she is, and every role she auditions for is a diva. I'm like, they just know from her photo. She's the naughty one. She's brilliant. So she's the entertainment.
And I take it you represent your children. They're not with a different
Yes.
agent. Do you
Yeah,
enjoy that?
because yeah, I can pick and choose then of what I
Yeah.
want to submit them for. But our availability is bad, obviously, because I work full time. I do the agency full time. I run the drama school 2 nights a week, and then we're actually lambing on our farm at the minute, so we are fully
hands
fully
full.
committed. Yes, yeah. But yeah, they love it. I represent them in that way, like in the like as a normal agent, you know, there's never any. I push my kids because I don't really want mine to get very much because I haven't got time. So a lot of the time they've got to go with a chaperone. So yeah, so we've got a team of chaperones that work with us that are
Brilliant.
available to take all of the children to various auditions. So yeah, because parents' availability is terrible.
I think that's a good advice. I got my chaperone license a couple of years ago, and I think it is a good thing to have for probably not your own children, because you can chaperone your own children. But yeah, it's just if somebody else is not available, I can go and chaperone
Yeah.
their
But it's
their
good
kids.
because you now know what a child's working hours should be. You know how to do a timesheet.
Yeah.
You know how to approach something, you know, where to go for safeguarding. You know all of that now. So having a chaperone license is brilliant because you're trained now. You know, right, this isn't right. I need to say something, when to say something and when not to say something, you know. You're covering yourself, but
Yeah,
you're
true.
also making sure the other people are covered as well. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so I've got the sort of backup on my shoulders for my own kids should I ever need it as well. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are you up for a little quick fire few questions, Julia?
Oh, okay.
Come on, right. Okay. Oh, see, I feel we've covered this, but let's do it in a quick fire and see what comes out. What stands out instantly?
Attitude.
Nice. Most common self-tape mistake?
Portrait.
Oh gosh, yes. I've chatted about that as well. Yes, you absolutely still want it in landscape, even if it is a vertical audition, because the casting directors want to see it on their screen. Love that.
Yes.
And final quick fire, one thing parents can do that really helps.
Research all the agencies.
Yes.
And make sure your child is safe.
Yes, there are a lot of scams about,
Yes.
and I recorded a solo episode this week, so it's not out yet, but I recorded a solo episode talking about this kind of thing and the scams. If the agent's asking for a huge amount of money up front, no,
So no,
that is
no.
an absolute no, and it's a scam. And warn the other parents as well, because again, you can get sucked into wanting the best for your little darling, and they're promising you this photo shoot. No, just don't.
Yeah, you don't need it. You can take headshots of children on your phone. Yeah, you don't
And I
need
think that's what you want to apply for your first agent, because again, the agency can advise you on, I think professional headshots are wonderful, and I follow some really beautiful ones with such character. I love them. But to start out, you don't necessarily know what those types are, and like you said, that you're going to need to change them in 6 months. So yeah, I also agree. Just use that plain background and those lovely soft lights, and do some headshots at home.
My son's, I think he's only ever had 3 professional shots. Everything else is me on my iPhone, because he changes so much. So, and his hair he's got curls, so they're up here sometimes, they're down here, depending on if he's had a haircut.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Yeah, and I don't want to belittle the place for professional headshots, because I think they're wonderful, but I think it's mainly for adults or for children once they kind of know where they're at a little bit and have chatted with their agent, and
when they've aged the right age where they stay looking the same for a little while. Yeah.
And then it's a little bit more worth your money then as well, isn't it?
Yes, like 12-ish, I think, is the age where they start staying the same for a while, and then they change. Yeah.
Excellent. Unless they cover themselves in makeup, like my oldest daughter. But we've had that.
Yeah.
But they'll take it from their agent. If their agent says strip the makeup, but they won't listen to their drama coach mum. No, of course they won't. But once the agent says, I like that, because we've got that relationship where, yeah, I can use her for want of a better, what do you think about this? And she'll absolutely say what I thought. So that's really nice.
Yeah. They'll message me and then say, right, I'm going to ring you in a minute on speaker in the car.
Yes.
You tell them to take the makeup off, because they wouldn't listen. I'm like, yeah, right, you need to take your makeup off now. And they'll go, oh yeah, no problem, sorry, and
Perfect.
Yes.
What a team. I love that.
Yeah, use us as bullies.
Is there anything that we haven't chatted about on this podcast today that you'd like to include or talk about?
I think so. I think between us, like my goal for 2026 was to like try and educate as many actors as I can, wherever they're from, not for me to represent them, not for advertising for me, but just to help, because the same mistakes are made over and over. And then I think between the two of us on our TikTok channels, we're covering everything. So watch those. They'll help loads.
Follow us on TikTok. When I stumbled across you, and now obviously it knows I like your stuff, and it keeps showing me like, oh yeah, I talked about this last week, and yes, we are saying the same thing. But I would never want to be that authority. If someone wants to challenge it and go, well, actually, this works for me in this circumstance. I do love learning. I think we all learn forever. But yeah, again, I'm never going to lose the teacher in me. If I can help people and educate people, I absolutely will. I think you were covering something. I thought, oh, that's so perfect. And I've never thought to explain that word. I just thought that everybody knew it. Sometimes you have to strip it back and explain.
Write it down. Because I was like, everybody's got to start somewhere. If I said to a guy, oh, you've been penciled for this. He'd only just learned how to self-tape. He's 54. And he had a pencil and he was like, sorry, what does that mean? And I was like, I never even thought you wouldn't even know because,
Yeah.
when you're coming into it and you don't know the lingo and you're brand new to it, yeah, I was like, I'm going to put that on because who knows? Other people might not know. Yeah, so I put on What's a Pencil. I've
Yeah, I
just
think
done
that
What's
was
a
the
Pencil.
one. I think that was the one that
Yeah,
I thought, do you know what? I'd never thought to explain that. I just thought it was, I guess that term was obvious to me the first time I heard it. But because
yeah,
we maybe use it, I just say, oh, I'll pencil that in and then we'll pen it in when it's right. But
yeah.
then nobody uses a paper calendar, maybe apart from me, nobody uses a paper calendar anymore. So I suppose the phrase doesn't make sense, does
Doesn't
it?
come up. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. So I went right back to basics, but I bulk record them. So I do like 20 or 30 of them
I've started
in
that
an
now.
hour or two. And then I just put them all in my drafts. And then I'm like, right, okay, there's today's one, there's today's one. So I've run out now. So I'm going to have to actually record some. But
New batch.
um, yeah, I've got some kids in the drama school have done some acting tips for me. And then I can post those. So I've got some content to share
Nice.
tomorrow.
That's exciting. I need to see if the students that I teach would get on board because everyone's going to be so bored
Yeah.
of me, just always being me, banging on.
I
But
know, I'm
at
so
least we can
boring.
bang on together.
Yeah, I do watch them back and go, I'm so boring on there because like that's not my personality of teacher. I'm quite like an extrovert, like I'm out there and no one I
Standing
go
on
to
their feet.
yeah, and then I'm on a microphone in networking events, and I've got to have a script in front of me because I can't be trusted because I'll go off on a tangent and like stand-up comic Julia comes out
Well, that sounds
and
wonderful.
and yeah, somebody asked me in when would doing OF ruin my career, and I said and I answered with mattress acting is still acting, and then I was like, oh God, did I say that? And it was like the BBC commissioner was there and the
My
cat like casting
goodness.
director, and they were just laughing in
Oh,
the
good.
yeah on the table. So, and I was like, see, this is why you can't. I've got to be scripted
Well,
because
I look
yeah,
forward to seeing your true comic self coming out in your next TikToks then, because you've been very sensible and very informative and
I know. All the
helpful.
kids are like, you're so serious on TikTok. I'm like, I know.
We're gonna see more come out now. I feel we're gonna see the other side. So apart from TikTok, where else can people find you?
I've got Instagram, but I only really use it for basically bragging about what we got. But don't we all
Brilliant.
do that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
It's a bragathon on Instagram, but I say don't message me on Instagram. If there's any questions you've got like about acting, you can comment on the TikTok and I'll just reply to it. But I get lots of representation emails, but we do only open in January and only for Welsh.
Good to
Well, Wales
clarify. You don't
based.
want a whole heap of
Yeah,
extra emails. And do you want to
yeah.
share your handle for TikTok and or Instagram?
I think it's JKS dot management. Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent.
Yeah, and that's it. But I would recommend just following you instead because you cover everything.
Trying. Thanks, Julia. I appreciate that. I am
I'm like, what do
trying.
we do? What do we do at the end when we run out? What do we do then? Do we just leave it there?
Will we ever run out though? I feel like there's always new
Yeah.
things coming.
Yeah.
I've always got stuff to say. That's why I've started the podcast because
Yeah.
I just love chatting to myself, to people. I can't help it. So at least this gives me an outlet to go on. And if people want to listen
Yeah.
and it helps them, then fantastic.
It's ever changing, isn't it? The industry.
Mm.
Like now, there's Instagram on your spotlight now, and they're linked, and
Wow.
and it's ever changing like that. So there's always stuff to talk about. Is yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know that. I knew there's a lot of talk about having a following, and there's but again, for adults, really, not children here, but this pros and cons of a production company wants you because you've got a following, but I should be wanted for my talent in its own right. I think this is interesting and difficult. And with the verticals now, that often people want a following or, you can be a vertical star. Yeah, I
yeah.
think it will be interesting to see where this goes. But I do sympathize with the argument for the pros and cons of this.
Yeah,
I think that's
it's
one for
hard
another
to
time.
know what's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last thing is a child, I should say, because obviously we focused on children a lot today. A child does not need a social media account for
Good.
any reason. Acting account, they don't need it.
Yeah. And similarly, because I made one for my daughter, but I manage it. I look at it, and she just looks at it sometimes, and I say, "Should we post this?" But we did change and make it private. You know, where you have to, what's that? We have to ask permission to follow them. Whereas we started just chucking it out there, and then I thought better of that. And again, our agent's like, children do not need social media, and I think as long as it is strictly managed by the parent, I won't hand it to her and let her kind of flick through it. For a start, she'll be hearting cats and sisters instead of, I was like, this is for your act. This is to be following people like yourself, where you can get acting tips and connections and things. So I think there's a place for it if you decide to have it as a parent. But I absolutely agree with you. Children do not need and should not. It's just a dangerous place to be. Keep them off it as long as you can. Yeah, here are us on TikTok chatting to the teenagers. If they're going to be on there, I'd like them to be, you know, hearing things that are useful.
Yes.
But there we go.
But it's such a dangerous world. But both of mine are not, or both of my own children are not on there. Some of the children we represent are on there. But yeah, I say don't link your Spotlight to it, because there's lots of information on Spotlight, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, so don't put your Spotlight link on there.
I suppose you could say, if you're proud of it, Spotlight registered.
Yes.
And then a casting director could approach you and then get your Spotlight link directly, because I think people are proud of that, right? Yeah.
So all of our children's profiles on our website are all password protected, so only certain casting directors they'll ask me for it, or certain people that I've done research on will have access to the children's site, to all the children's Spotlight pages. Yeah, there's too much information on there.
Yeah, I think this is so. I'm glad you came up with this. I didn't think about this in our plan, so I'm so glad you've raised this. The idea of children don't need to be on social media. They don't need to share their Spotlight profile publicly. Share their agent and let everything come through the agent. I think that's really top advice. Thank you.
Message us, or they'll email us and ask us for, can we have a look at this? You know, and I can go, right, they're a registered company, blah blah blah.
You can check.
Can I see your safeguarding policy or your child protection policy? And they'll send it over, and done. There we go.
And so meanwhile, if a child isn't represented, that's a job for the parent, right? To check out this person. Don't just get overexcited and let them go. I know obviously you would always go with them, but to check out and do your due diligence on these people that are contacting you about your child. Yeah. Whoa, what a serious note to end on.
Yes, well, it's good.
It's
important. You know, everybody's got to start, haven't they, somewhere? And sometimes our head rules our heart rules our head, even. So, yeah.
Yeah. Be careful out there, people.
Yes.
Right, so we'll wrap this up then. A huge thank you to you, Julia, for an honest and thoughtful conversation with even more than I could have imagined to include in our chat today. I think there's so much there for young performers, for parents, about readiness, approach, understanding how the process works, safety. If you found this episode helpful, then please feel free to share it with someone who might benefit. And don't forget to follow the show so that you don't miss future episodes. And if you have a moment to leave a quick review, that really helps more people find this podcast. You can find more support and resources and coaching through the links in my bio across all my socials. And I'll be back very soon with another episode of the Drama Coach podcast. Thank you so much for listening.